welcome to Crowning Connections with Rob Clemons. It is a beautiful day in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're actually at the Alabama Theater for this one, so I'm super excited today because it's just such an amazing setting. We have an amazing guest with us, and a lot of people come to the area. They're thinking, what can I do on my vacation? I got some money. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I need to go do something. And one of the best things you can do is come to the Alabama Theater here. Right. I've actually got the pleasure of having Lori Beth Finley with me today. Lori Beth, welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be in South Carolina.
Well, it's amazing, right? And we're going to talk about how you got here. I do have a full confession to make. My sister's name is Lori, so it's very natural for me to stop at Lori. But I got to be like, Lori Beth. It doesn't sound right, but I want
you can call me LB. A lot of people call me my initials.
LB. That's kind of cool sounding. It sounds like a rapper name.
I know. That's why I'm like. So it's LB. Actually, it's not Lori Beth. Yeah. It makes me feel like cool. I'm like.
I think it's kind of cool myself. Do you think you could do? Are you a rapper? Could you freestyle some stuff for us today?
I doubt it. I'll leave that up to my toddler. She can freestyle for you all day.
She freestyles. It's a lot of gaga goo goo stuff, but you'll get it. Yeah. All right, I got you. Hey, it is great to have you here today.
Thank you.
I know that last week was opening night at the Alabama Theater. How was that? I mean, was it a crazy crowd?
It was crazy. So I'm the new girl here. You know, this cast has been together for, I can't even tell you how many years. I know Jason and Chris Cox, they're married. Jason's on the front of the program there. There it is. Yeah. And they've been here for 17 years. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, veterans I'm coming into. And so being the new girl, walking out, our opening night usually is, they let me know, it consists of season pass holders.
Okay.
And so the crowd was full of season pass holders. And I was just like, oh, the judgment. Oh, the judgment. I'm the new girl. Here I am, Yeah. But it was great. They were very accepting. I didn't feel like the oddball at all. I felt right at home.
Right? Okay.
And they were so energetic. I think people are just like ready to get out of the house.
Yeah.
It's been a long, 2 years almost where we've been in this pandemic situation, this COVID thing. So I think people were just ready to get out and be entertained and see each other again,
Absolutely. Do you feel like, so let's go into that feeling. So this was your first night performing at this theater, right?
That's right.
You got a long history of performances, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But so what's it feel like when when everything comes out, you see all these faces out here? Are you one to get nervous? Do you feel like you're going to throw up? I mean, I've heard this before. So what's it feel like, or is it just confidence?
So I will say, opening night at this theater, I was probably more nervous than I have been in years and years. Normally an opening night for I was on the General Jackson Showboat in Nashville for 11 years. So once I got to about year 3, 4, it's like, opening night, whatever. Yeah. And you rehearse so much. People typically don't understand how much rehearsal goes into a big production like this. You've got lights, you've got sound, you've got a full band with horn section. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, choreography. And so you do it over and over and over, like 2-3 times a day. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of becomes mechanical in your body. And so in Nashville, it kind of stopped hitting me. And I missed that magic almost. I missed that rush of the nervousness.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just became so robotic. But then opening night here, I wanted to throw up, to be quite honest.
And that means it mattered to you. It's even more endearing.
It was. Yeah. And I caught myself just like tears in my eyes a few times because I was just like, oh my God, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm so back.
It's pretty cool when you feel that good about something that it is hard not to get emotional.
Yep.
Well, give me an idea, and anybody listening, because one of the big things with Crowning Connections is I want to get behind, just how hard you have to work to be a success, right? Whether you're, working in fast food or in a restaurant or at a corporation, it doesn't matter. You have to work hard to be the best at what you do. How many, to do any one of these routines, how many times have you practiced it before a show actually starts?
How much time do you have?
Right.
I would say for this show particularly, and this is a very large production show, variety show too. We probably have done this before we opened at least 25, 30 times.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Straight through, and it's a 2-hour show.
Wow.
And most days we did it twice in one day.
Man.
So we would do run the show, from 12 to 2, full out, and maybe no costumes, but just run your blocking, what we call.
Sure.
And get your lyrics and your harmonies and things right. And we would do like a little lunch, dinner break, and then we'd come back and do it all over again. So there were a lot of late nights. You know, I would get home at 10 or 11 at night. You know, my kid's in bed, thank God already. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times I don't think that, you know, the audience really might understand what goes behind all this, but it's a team effort.
I was going to say, the easier you make it look to them means the harder you've been working.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
And you all have to work together. The thing about being on any stage in a production like this is it's not about you in particular. It's about your team and your cast. And it's my responsibility, you know, say Rodney, one of our cast members, fantastic singer. It's my job when I'm singing harmonies on his song to not pull focus to me and to lend focus to him and make sure that my backups are supporting what he's doing instead of pulling from what he's doing. So we really have to bond and to make it a team effort.
It's got to be trust. You know, he doesn't want like the backup vocalist like outshining him and stuff.
No,
so.
That's a little difficult for me sometimes.
Right. You're like ready to do your solo performance right now on the back.
I'm like, wait, I see a spotlight.
right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so as far as you got a whole season in front of you, right?
That's right.
And the Alabama Theater, I know they do an amazing Christmas show.
Yeah.
And my mom's the type. So we've gone to this show. It's beautiful. My mom is the type where she'll be like, I like him. He's so funny. You know, wait. And it's always she's got her favorite. And I always have
absolutely.
to, and always can predict who the favorite's going to be before it's over. But anyway, so it's a fun thing.
That's so fun.
Do you have like a favorite time of the year? Is there like a certain one that you're like, I can't wait till Halloween so we get, or whatever it is, you know?
I do love Christmas.
Yeah.
I love doing Christmas shows. And what's funny about it is, again, the audience probably wouldn't know this, but we start rehearsing for Christmas in October.
Wow.
Like October 1st even sometimes. So way before Halloween even gets here, before Thanksgiving. So we're like in the Christmas spirit. Before anybody else, we're ready.
Right.
And I have missed that over the last couple of years, not doing, you know, shows like this. But Christmas for me is just my favorite. It really is the best. It gets you in the spirit, and it's magical. It's magical how you can connect. You know, you see families coming together, and you can connect that for them.
Yeah.
You're kind of their memory, you know, on their Christmas vacation or whatever it may be.
100%, absolutely.
And I really love being that for people.
That's so cool, you know. And another great thing about this show, and I've noticed, is in the times I've been here, you guys mix in a little bit of all kinds of entertainment. You know?
do.
So you're going to go fast with the music, slow with the music. You got some humor in there for sure.
Oh, Slim Chance.
Yeah, right.
He is too funny.
Yeah, he's just got this stuff. You ever find yourself just like laughing backstage at the things?
I do, but I'm the new girl.
Yeah.
And so I'm the only one laughing.
They're like, oh, we've heard this one before, but yeah.
I'm like, oh, sorry. No, just kidding. Yeah,
Right.
but yeah, he's hilarious to me. And to be quite frank, nothing against any of the talent here because it's incredible. But my husband was over the moon to hear I was getting to work with Slim Chance.
Oh, really?
He is like the biggest fan. He's like, you actually get to work with him and see him backstage.
He was like starstruck and looking for autographs. That's so cool.
So he is so excited to get to hang out with Slim Chance.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to Slim Chance there. All
Shout
right.
out.
That's
He's a super cool guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so you're in the singing game. You've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes when I've done a lot of speaking during the day, I get home and my voice is sore.
Yep.
How do you, as a singer, I mean, is that a challenge at all, or is your voice, are your vocal cords just worked out? I mean, what's it like?
It's very much, it can be a challenge. When I was in the business for as long as I was, just solid. Like I knew every single year, okay, you're going to be off for 2 or 3 weeks in January. That's your time to go to Hawaii or go take a vacation. But from literally it would be like February 14th through the end of the year, you are busy doing 6 nights a week, sometimes 2 shows a day.
Yeah.
And that becomes your life. So I think that my vocal cords just became like, kind of like they're a muscle. So it just became like worked out and conditioned to get through that kind of stress.
Yeah.
I can say after being away from this for like the last 2 years, I am noticing some challenges, and it could be age too, but we won't talk about that. I have noticed it's a little more difficult to like get my voice warmed back up again.
Okay.
And then like, yesterday or what was it, last week, we did a couple runs before we opened, and opening was a little more difficult because we had been singing all day.
Oh, yeah.
And then we sing it, again that night to perform, and it's just like, so I have a couple concoctions that I use.
This is what I want to hear. Yeah, because people need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't taste good.
Oh, well, that's too bad, but
But
we'll still try them.
there's a mixture of, now it has to be local honey so that you get like the allergens, right?
Gotcha.
Local honey, cayenne pepper, and lemon juice.
Okay.
And you want to do it like from a fresh squeezed lemon. So you like warm all that up in like a pot on the stove, and then pour it into a jar or whatever, and you take shots of it.
No way.
And it is
okay.
hot.
Yeah, right?
It is hot. And it's sweet, and it's yucky, and it's thick, and it's syrupy. But for some reason, I learned that at like a talent show when I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
And this older, performer came up to me and she goes, "Honey, let me tell you the trick." And I've used it ever since, and it genuinely works.
That's a great, this is honestly a great tip because
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, when you said horrible, I thought you were going to be like, put some beets in.
Oh, well,
and some
no.
broccoli. like honey, that's not that bad, right?
Right, but the cayenne pepper gives you that kick.
That's a little bit much,
Oh,
yeah.
it's a lot.
Right.
And I would, unfortunately, I've been living in Nashville for a while, so a swift kick of whiskey really.
A little bit of whiskey never hurt anybody, and we know this.
It'll really help the vocal cords sometimes, and so.
Just one shot, though. You don't want to get like.
That's right, because then you can't remember your lyrics and you're done.
That's never good.
So,
right.
just a little bit, like a little taste.
Yeah.
And I've even mixed that in my concoction before. Just something about that will just help your
Makes it
vocal
work.
cords. But the very best thing around the board is sleep.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's what makes it challenging when we've been rehearsing all day, then we do a show at night, and then we got to be back for another rehearsal at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
and do it all again the next day. And so you kind of lose, the hours of sleep that you need. You really do need a good 8 hours.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
sleep is the absolute best trick.
They always say, like everybody, no matter what you're doing, get your sleep. And that is so hard to do, though.
It's hard.
It's hard. 8 hours. It's like, you got to practice to get 8 hours.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right, I would love 8 hours.
Well, and you got a newly born baby, right? So
Ish,
like this
yeah.
is 8 hours is like,
She's
that's
wild.
long gone, right?
Oh, it's gone. I won't see that again for another 16 years.
Right. Maybe 8 hours a week might be your new goal, right? Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, so this thing, just to go back, I'm gonna use this trick that you just gave me,
Okay.
because sometimes after I've been talking all day, it sounds like I'm trying to do like some DJ voice. I'm like, hey guys, good morning.
Yeah. You
sound
get
like-
raspy.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They say it works for me because I'm an alto. I'm not much of a soprano.
Okay.
And so used to when my voice would get tired like that, people would be like, "Oh, the rasp really works for your voice
yeah.
because you're like this."
It's kind of like a little seductive
they're like,
kind
"Oh,
of sound
that's
you're doing.
sexy." I'm like, "Oh my god, I sound like Kermit the Frog." Like, what do you call sexy?
That's a problem. Yeah, I was like, now do I have to make this voice sound like this all the time? All right, gosh, what do you do, right? Well,
Yeah, you have to try it.
that's awesome stuff. Well, let's talk a little bit about your, kind of how you got into this business. Obviously you've been doing this for a number of years. I saw something that really excited me, so I'm going to blow up your spot a little bit here because I want to talk about
Yay.
this. So you used to do like some singing, like maybe like the Star Spangled Banner or
Yeah.
the national anthem
That's it.
at the NASCAR events that
I
your dad was at,
did.
right?
I did.
That's so cool. Are you a NASCAR fan?
I am. I hate to say this. I haven't watched it in a while.
Okay, all right.
As far as on TV, my dad still races. He does like short track racing now.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So he was doing Busch Series when I was born, and then he did Craftsman trucks for a while.
Wow.
And so, you guys, my dad is 65 and he's still getting in a race car.
That's so cool.
My mom wants to kill him. She's like, "How are you still doing this to me?"
Yeah.
But that's his passion.
The coolest thing about NASCAR though is this. You'll see these guys and they retire,
Right.
but I mean, gosh, they're Dale Earnhardt Jr. He did a race last year in the Xfinity
Yes,
series,
yes.
if I'm not mistaken. And so it's cool just to see these guys. So I mean, more
Yeah.
power to your dad, man.
I
Age doesn't matter.
I know it does not matter. And my brother, we're all kind of in the business. My brother builds race car parts. He just sent a bunch of stuff down before Daytona, and so he has his own business and builds race car parts. Okay,
Yeah.
and So we're all in the business. It's like
My
a family
gosh.
business for us.
Who's the coolest NASCAR guy you ever met? Like, is there ever a time? Could you give me somebody from NASCAR you met that you're just like, oh my God, Rob?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
No way.
I was 16, so it was like the height of his career, and
Wow.
he was the hot guy, right?
Oh, he's so hot. No,
He's so hot.
I'm sorry, I wasn't really thinking like that, but okay, fine.
I know, right?
Wouldn't it be funny if we just talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the rest of this time? Yeah.
Oh, I'd be fine with that.
How long do we have? Do we have like 20? So tell me, what was it like looking into his eyes? I need to know. No,
Oh, I was gazing. I was dreaming.
Right.
I was a 16-year-old girl, so you could only
yeah.
imagine
Oh,
how
of
excited
course.
I was. But I was singing at Martinsville, and I was singing the national anthem. I think that was my very first one on national television.
Wow.
And so I'm down in the pits, and my dad knows everybody, so we're walking around talking to crew chiefs and things like that. And somebody comes at my dad, and they're like, we hear that Lori Beth is a huge Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan. Let's get her over there. And he's like, oh God, she'll die. She won't be able to sing. And so they got me over there, and I still have the picture in a frame, not hanging up any longer, but I still have it in a frame at home. And I just was like, I couldn't even believe it was real.
Wow.
That he was celebrity for me.
Oh my gosh. I mean, for all of us,
Yeah, he was celebrity for me. And I grew up, my dad was a Dale Earnhardt, he loved his dad, a Dale Earnhardt fan. And, I remember the day he passed, it like tore my dad apart. Mm-hmm. So that's just how I grew up. They were royalty to us.
That's unbelievable. That's so cool. I mean, like, I thought you were going to drop off some obscure name. I was like, oh, look that up later. So Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, I'm telling my age a little bit too, but I love Dale Earnhardt Jr.
No, that's
incredible.
That's totally cool. So I didn't mean to get you off your track, but so tell
okay.
us, how did you get to this level that you're at right now?
So I did start singing at races. My dad would race, and he knew all the track owners just from racing there. And so I was singing at church a little bit here and there. I grew up in a very small, like 20 people in the church, small church, Southern Baptist. And I'd get up and sing every now and then when I was a kid. And we watched the race every Sunday. That was our religion. Mm-hmm. You do not miss the race on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
After church, of course. And so I would watch it, and the hype for it for me was who was singing the national anthem. That was what I wanted to see every Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I went to my daddy, and I'm like, I want to do that at the racetrack. And I was 12.
Man.
And he goes, well, and listen, I don't come from a musical family at all. I don't know where my talents came from. Well, obviously God. He completely blessed me with all of it. But I don't come from that background. And my dad is so critical of me. Like, I can't even explain. He knows what he's talking about.
Is
somehow.
Your dad your biggest critic? Would you
He
say?
Is.
Okay.
He's my biggest critic. My biggest fan, but my biggest critic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He just wants to see me succeed.
That's awesome.
So I went to him, and he was like, well, you're gonna have to practice it with me and let me hear it, because if you're gonna be on TV, it's gotta be perfect. It's gotta be right. And for a whole year, he made me practice until I had it to the standard that he thought it should be.
Wow.
He didn't want me to make it fancy. He was like, sing it straight, because when people sing the anthem, people want to sing along.
Yeah,
it's our country song. They want to sing along. So don't throw licks in there. Don't jazz it up.
Drag it out. Like
When you get to Land of the Free, Home of the Brave, like, drag it out, make it long and big.
And I'm like, are you getting paid by the minute on this or something? Like, what is going on? Yeah,
and I did it all for free.
right.
So he made me practice for a year, and then I got to sing at Martinsville, like, on TV.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, my dad raced in Asheboro, North Carolina, Caraway Speedway, short track racing there, and so I really started practicing there and became Miss Caraway Speedway, and then I would also sing, so I was giving out trophies and singing every Saturday night.
And you're a double threat at that point.
Right?
You're like doing both things. Okay,
I know. Where'd the time go? So I was doing that every weekend, and that's really where I started.
That's awesome.
Was racetracks.
So you kind of started from there and then just started growing out and like a little bit higher level,
I did, and I never really became interested in, like, quote unquote musical theater. Mm-hmm. I never did like choir in school. I never did, but I joined a band at 15 and performed on the bar scene in Greensboro, North Carolina, which my parents had to go with me to because obviously I was underage.
Yeah.
So they would just sit and watch me, sing in a bar full of, cool people. We'll call them cool
some
people. Some
cooler than others. I got you. right.
So I did that, and I really honestly, you know, people talk about their teenage years. I didn't really have a lot of time to get in trouble. I know I wasn't a perfect kid, but like my parents just, they saw my passion for music and they kept me busy, kept me going for it.
Yeah.
And so then when I was 16, I was a cheerleader in high school. I was playing tennis, and I was doing the bar gigs and the racetracks on the weekend. And this guy calls out of nowhere from Pigeon Forge, and he's like, I don't know how he got my CD. I got your CD, and I want you to come sing in my show. And that is literally how show business started for me.
That's amazing.
So I moved away from home at 17.
Okay.
My parents had to put an apartment in their name for it to be legal. And then they had to sign guardianship over to the manager of the theater so that I had someone there. They went back to Troy, North Carolina. I stayed in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee by myself, finished high school, did theaters there for a while, and then moved on to Nashville after a few years.
Man, that's cool. And so you were in Nashville until just recently.
Right.
And you came back to Myrtle Beach. Now, you told me kind of a cool story about just how you got back here. If you'll share that.
Yeah, they had been, the casting director here at the Alabama Theater had been calling me for a number of years.
Now, let me ask you about that. So had they heard about you? I mean, had they been to a show?
Good question. Good question. I forgot the connection there. So I was on the General Jackson Showboat in Nashville, which I've spoke about. The same production company that produces this show, it's Gaylord Entertainment or Opryland Entertainment, I believe. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
But they were producing the show on the showboat that I was doing when I first started there in 2006.
Gotcha.
I think it was. And so they produced this show, and when they left producing that show, another company came in, and I stayed there and worked for the other company. So they remembered me from working with me there.
Okay.
And that's why they started calling me, because they had worked with me before.
Okay, gotcha.
And so same casting director and everything. And so she started calling me for like literally 10 years straight. And I was like, I had the stars in my eyes, and I had been singing around town and on Broadway in Nashville, which is like the infamous bar scene there, and had really started making a name for myself, and singing background vocals for some really cool artists, and going on tours and things like that. And I got an artist development deal, a management deal, a booking deal. I got all these things and was on my way to the top, and COVID hit, and things just happened, and I was finally like, you know what, I feel like it's time to go back home, but I didn't know what I was going to be able to do, and I had this kid, and we had no help, and so we came down here. My husband and I brought our kid down to Myrtle Beach for a vacation, since my family's from North Carolina, about 2.5 hours away. We all met down here for a vacation, and my husband and I had a chance to have a date night, which was obviously few and far between. I don't think we've had one since. But I was like, you know what? Let me call the casting director and let's go see the Alabama Theater. They've called me for years. I've never been to the show, but I've heard it's great. It's award winning. Plug.
Plug. Shameless plug. Right.
Sorry. So we got tickets, came down. I was blown away, and I just was like, I got that little feeling in my chest again of like, oh my God, like I miss this. And I hadn't been singing because of COVID. And so I just was like, I miss this so much. Like, to be part of something like that would be super cool, right? And my husband was like, they'll call you again one day. It'll happen. No joke. That was in June of last year. And they called me in November. And so my husband's like, see, you got to put the energy out there.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you wanted to come back to this. You wanted to be closer to home again. You want to perform again on a huge stage, with a huge production. He was like, I really think that you threw the energy out there and you attracted it. And I feel the same way. I really do feel that way.
It's funny. We were talking about this before this started, about the energies you put out into the world, and sometimes the energies you get back from that. So
it's a huge deal. Yeah. And I'm working on it. I mean, I still have my bad days. I'm human, but I'm trying to throw that positive energy out and just be a kind human to others. I was always raised like, treat people how you want to be treated. And I really think that we can all gain from doing that, and just throw that positivity out there and give people the space to be human and give them that grace and that mercy.
Absolutely. You know, my staff over at Monarch, we talk about, positivity, and they hear it so much they get tired of hearing it. But it's like with positivity, it's a big thing. Professionalism, enthusiasm. I call it pep. I do it.
I'm going to use that.
I always ask them, like, you guys have pep? And they're like, yeah, but it's not like pep rally pep.
Yeah.
Well, it sort of is.
But kind of can be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. We like it. But so, I will tell you that, we talked about positive words. We talked about the things that you can put out there and the things that you put into the world. From your perspective, what is the thing that you feel like you're proudest of that's happened to you, or something that was there any one accomplishment you're just like, wow, this one stands out to me as just super proud?
Oh gosh, other than being a mom.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Of course. I never thought I would say that either, because I was not fond of having a baby when I had the baby. Goodness, that's a really good question. I would just say any time that I've been a part of a show, or I loved singing like John Rich. That was really cool. Touring with Kimberly Locke from American Idol, I got to see the whole country like on someone else's dime, even, which was cool. We stayed in the coolest hotels and, got to really wine and dine with some of the coolest people. But this is really funny and really has nothing to do with my singing career, but I was singing at a gig with John Rich at his house. If you have not seen John Rich's house, Google it. It is insane.
Okay, all right.
So he has a bar in his house that he holds events. Now, he holds like really great charity events for like St. Jude and things like that.
Nice.
And so we were doing this gig, and, he was on that show, The Apprentice. And so he was on there with Lil Jon, right? So turned down for what? Yeah, I'm a country singer, but I love rap from time to time, believe it or not. And he was there. Wow. Lil Jon was there. And they had like these cages, and I was young, like I'm feeling it. I'm like so excited to be there, and I get up and I start dancing, and Lil Jon comes over and hugs me, and he's like, "Great job singing earlier, baby." And I'm just like, "Oh my God,
no way.
I can die now. I can die now."
But
funny.
No, I just got to ask though, was Lil Jon, did he come over like you see him in the videos, were you like, okay, let's do, or was he more just
I
like,
wish he would have.
or was he more like, hello, nice job singing today?
Yeah,
and like,
he was just proper.
Oh, okay.
He was like a gentleman.
He
was a true gentleman.
That's
and just
awesome.
was very complimentary, and just, I could have cared less what he said. I was just like, oh my God, he's touching me.
A little starstruck, right? Right. That's cool.
I've always said I want that song played at my funeral, but.
Oh, it's very like, that's clearly everybody's song for their funeral. I mean, I'm thinking like 1, 2, 3.
Turn down for what?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So anyway, that was one of my proudest moments. However, I love that I can make my parents proud. That's cool. Still like my number one goal. I mean, I'm in my 30s, and I still call my parents almost every single day. Nice. And I'm like, when are you guys coming to see the show? And I just love it. I love the twinkle in their eye when I make them proud.
It's really cool, and sometimes, that feeling. It's also where the parents, like, probably to discipline you when you were younger, all they had to do was say, well, we're just so disappointed in you. And you're probably like, all right.
Crushed.
Yeah.
Like, I'll ground myself.
No dinner for me tonight, guys.
I'll take my phone away, have my phone, have all of it.
You go stand in the corner for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
I got
and
you.
Cry.
Yeah.
Weep, in fact. Yeah. Weeping.
That's funny. What would you say your singing style is like? Do you have, or do you have anybody that you ever like, I want to sing like that?
Funny enough, obviously I love Carrie Underwood, and I always get handed her songs, which is a huge compliment, because she's tough. Has a vocal range, really great vocal range. But after singing with Kimberly Locke for so long, and that was R&B. I love R&B. I obviously grew up a country singer, but then I found this like passion for R&B and just the soul behind it. And so singing with her voice, just, we would be in sound check, and she was so effortless at what she did, and she still is. And I would just be sitting back there, a background singer, just in awe. And like, I have got to do that. Like, I want to be in the front like that, singing effortlessly and, just reaching people.
Yeah.
And she's got a huge advocate heart, and just like, she's so kind and really wants, oh, there they go again. I told them not to do that today.
Shout out to the Myrtle Beach Airport too.
Oh my God.
They're running internationally, I've heard. Anyway,
I do too. So no, I really aspire to sing effortlessly like her, but to also be able to just connect with your audience. Her connection to me was magical.
I think that's probably the biggest part. If you connect with the audience in itself,
Connection.
it makes so much of a difference.
That's it. Yeah. Let them know you're human. Just because you're in sequins and rhinestones and you're covered head to toe and have your hair's all fixed and makeup's all done, it doesn't make you any less human.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now that's great. One thing I wanted to do today too. You and I talked a little beforehand, and you talked about my father was military. He was in the Army back in Vietnam, and then he went Air Force later as a officer. And you talked about your husband a little bit. He was in the military, Navy.
He was in the Navy. Yeah.
Talk to me about that a little bit. Just kind of some of the. You talked about some things that you're passionate about. Can we talk about that story a little bit?
Yeah. So my husband was in the Navy for 10 years. I didn't get to the part where he got out of the Navy to go to the Army.
Okay.
So he wanted to do like special ops. Unfortunately, he was told, "Oh, you're too old." He was 31.
Oh, wow. The old age of 31,
Isn't that
right?
crazy?
Yeah, it's like sports, I guess.
But he still had this passion for it. That's what he wanted to do. And so he kept going for it. And it didn't work out. Things just got a little squirrely with what was going on. If you know anything about military, well, if you watch the football game, the Navy against the Army, there's rivalry.
Yeah, it's on, yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily, he wasn't welcome with open arms. He went to the Army from the Navy. But anyway, he ended up getting out of the Army. We got married, and he joined the Army 2 weeks later, actually. And so he finally just was like, I think I'm ready for some civilian life. I think I'm done with this. I've seen my day. He saw a lot. He was overseas, and so he saw a lot. And when he finally came home from everything, he was a different person. And I started asking questions, but I had cousins and my grandfathers served in the wars, and I kind of knew just not to ask too many questions because I couldn't understand what he had at all, possibly what he had seen. And so I eased up a little bit, and I just noticed like his sleep patterns were really disruptive. He wasn't sleeping, and then the next day he just wasn't present. Literally, he wasn't present. And we'd be in the car like going to Walmart that we'd been going to in Nashville for months, and he would miss his turn. And I was like, I thought we were going to Walmart. And he would be like, I'm sorry, I zoned out. And so I started noticing just those patterns of like, something's going on here.
Yeah.
And so after many uncomfortable conversations, and I was pregnant at the time too, he finally started reaching out to the VA for some help with some things, and realized, there's PTSD going on and things like that. And he got help, and he sought help. And I'm so proud that he did. And there's still things that now he will tell me, if there's moments, he'll go, it's one of those times. I'm just recalling something. I don't mean to put you out, but like you wouldn't understand. So I don't really want to talk about it. And now I know that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, have your moment. Come to me if you need me.
That it's a powerful thing, and I think you kind of, the way you were explaining to me is the people that have PTSD or whatever the diagnosis is, you're experiencing things when you come out of the military that you don't feel like you can relate with other people right off the bat. And you told me some powerful stuff, because I just kind of wanted to talk about like, what would you want somebody to know that's in that? Because you're living with somebody who's experiencing it. What do you think is kind of the way to I guess maybe cope with this situation?
Yeah.
Right? How do you go about this?
I would definitely say it's easier said than done, but just the embarrassment of it. I know that he went through embarrassment of it because he's a military boy. He's supposed to be all tough and
nothing affects me and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. And they're trained. Literally trained to perceive life that way. But when you get into the civilian world, it's something that you can't let go of that easy. And I mean, I'm so thankful that he reached out when he did, because I don't know where he would be or where we would be at this point, but he had to understand not to be embarrassed by that, and not to feel ashamed and not to feel broken. Just because he was experiencing these things did not make him broken and did not make him weak.
Yeah.
It made him, it really humbled him more than anything. And to be vulnerable doesn't make you weak.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I'm glad that he finally saw that.
Yeah,
just to reach out.
I think it's important to know you're not alone. You're not the only one
Right.
who's experiencing it.
Right.
And then you talk about you talked about the fact that sometimes when you can step up and be that person to put yourself out there, other people will say, "Wow, you too," and it kind of makes it easier, right?
It does make it easier. You know, I went through my own little bout when I had my baby, and I my mom was always such a strong woman and strong mom. She did everything, and I think I aspired to be like her, but for some reason, my hormones didn't work the same way. We're different people, right? So I went through my own bout with it, and just I had to realize the more that I talked about it, kind of the easier it became, and the pressure kind of let up, and I was like, I'm not alone. Because the more I would speak about my issues, or the more my husband's talked about his issues, he's made more friends. He was at the fire department back in Nashville, and he met other guys that had served in, you know, whatever branch, and he would get to talking to them about his issues, and they'd be like, me too. And so there was that connection through that I think kind of lightened that load a little bit. You know,
Absolutely.
You make friends through those things and realize, oh, I'm not the only one crying alone in my closet at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, right.
And now I can giggle about it, you know, and I'm not that it's a funny subject, but I literally can now look back at some of the darkest times we walked through together. Luckily, we walked together, and I can go, oh, you know, that we got through that, and we weren't alone.
Man,
Thank God we weren't alone.
no doubt about it. You know,
Yeah.
and it's really cool that, you know, that he was able to get over that little hump. You guys could experience this together, and to be able to talk it out is therapeutic in
It is
itself.
so therapeutic.
So are there any resources you would recommend to somebody who's going through something? I know you mentioned church, but is there anything else you can think
Yeah,
of? Or?
for me, I had a phenomenal church community back in Nashville. I'm sure I'll find one here as well, but the people there were just so non-judgmental.
Yeah.
And they just made me feel free and like I could say anything, even if I was having a bad day. And trust me, I was raised in a church, no cussing. Well, I'm in the show business, and there's a little bit of cussing
A little bit
here.
of cursing out there. Yeah.
But you know, even that, I would talk to the pastor, and I would have those days, and F-bombs would fly out of my mouth. And normally, from where I'm from and what I was raised in, like, don't you do that?
No.
No, that's bad. But
I still can't curse in front of my mom.
I
This is
do,
true.
but I get the
you get
I.
that. Yeah.
I get the I, and my maiden last name is Hogan, and so she'll go Lori Beth Hogan, and I know at that point, again, I will ground myself.
I will bid you a
done.
good evening. And
Nothing for Christmas. Got it.
Right.
But no, he made me feel so free, and like I could just be me.
Cool.
And being me was completely okay. That's what set me apart, and that's what was going to help me help others. And that's my whole goal in anything that I do, and even in music and singing. And I was a songwriter, and I just always wanted to connect people and like go, you're not alone, and you be you.
Yeah,
And I told you I didn't want to go by Lori Beth when I was little, because it was like, oh my gosh, it's so different, and everybody else has got one name. And my mom was like, but being different is awesome. You know, like, be you. That's who you are. You're Lori Beth. And so I finally went back to Lori Beth after going to Lori for a very short while, and realized, like, over time, as I got older, people would be like, oh, Lori Beth, that's a great country singer
Cool.
name.
Oh man, it's the best.
It
you
really
know?
worked in my benefit in Nashville. So,
Right.
you know, I own who I am at this point. Like,
That's cool.
whatever, judge me. It's who I am. I can't help it.
That's super cool. Well, as we get towards the backside of this program, and this has been amazing today, and a lot of great
has.
advice. What would you want anybody to know about you? Is there any one thing that you'd say, look, I want this on my tombstone one day?
Oh, gosh.
Besides, you know, any whatever rap song you want to play at your funeral or whatever that was.
Lil Jon was here.
Right.
I would probably say, gosh, it's so, like, I cannot even take that I'm going to say this, because my priorities have changed so much since becoming a mom. But I think I told you earlier, too, we were talking, and I did not want to be, for a long time, I was like, I don't want to be Lori Beth the singer. I've struggled with that for so long because I've been in the business since I was 12. I won't say how old I am, but I'm in my 30s. And I've been in it so long that it became Lori Beth the singer, Lori Beth the singer. I would show up at church. Will you sing for us? Will you sing here? And so I was like, I want to be Lori Beth. Like, why don't people see the heart of me and what's inside, you know? And then I became a mom. And so my identity changed. And I was like, gosh, I don't mind being Lori Beth the singer now, but I want to be Lori Beth the mom. Like the really good mom. Like,
that's so cool.
I want my daughter to be like, you know, my mom was so cool. And she's been on the stage and she dances. I'm tearing up thinking about it. But I want her to be like, my mom was so dedicated to me. You know, but she also took care of herself.
Yeah.
I know.
No,
because we have to take care of ourselves too as moms, and I think that's often why we go down that postpartum route is we forget to take care of ourselves.
I can
and
see
so
that,
when I got back into music, I was like, okay, I'm going to show her you can do both.
Yeah.
You can do both.
Absolutely. And I guess there's that point of realization where you spend so much time building yourself up and then you realize it's more than just about you, right?
It is more than about me. I want to touch her, and I want her to see, you know, power in being herself.
That's so cool. Hey, that's great tips for everybody.
Thanks.
You know, so I think that's awesome stuff. You know, and this is, like I said, it's been a great time talking with you. We're going to be at the home show this coming weekend, Myrtle Beach Home Show. So we would love to have you come by and see us.
I'm going to do my best. I love all things home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you'll see so much stuff, and then when you see the booth we're in, it's ridiculous out there.
My husband's going to just kill me.
Yes, get your checkbooks out, you know, or whatever.
Honey, hand me your wallet. Right.
That's awesome. Well, you are at the Alabama Theater.
Yay.
Come see her out here, Lori Beth Finley. Amazing stuff. Appreciate you being on with us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All right. Well, we'll have to have you again sometime to the show.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Sounds good. This has been Rob Clemons. I'm signing out with Crowning Connections. Thank you guys for listening.